don't think Hercules appeared, actually,
Well,
in
there
this
you
conference.
go. That's the gospel truth.
Yeah. See what you did there. I went the distance to Vienna.
I'm out. I'm out.
We derailed.
Welcome to Gabble Sisters. Join us on our walking tour of every Disney animated feature, taking in the history, psychology, and music of a randomly selected film each episode. Think Goose. Forward, march.
Hello, Megan.
Hello, Bronwyn.
How are you?
I'm frazzled.
You don't look frazzled.
Oh, thanks. I tried to wear an appropriate top for today.
You have lightning bolts.
Yeah, so I'm repping Zeus.
Yes,
here.
you are. Yes, you are.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm here.
We're here.
And that's it's the highlight of the week.
Yeah. Excited to talk about Hercules.
Yes. So, before we get started, shall we do our Disney check-in?
Yes, let's. I believe you had exciting plans for our Disney check-in. Am I right?
Yes. Well, for the benefit of the audience, it was Megan's birthday. Yes. She has been patiently waiting for her present.
I'm so good.
For 3 weeks, because I said I wanted to give it to her on mic to get her live reaction. So, here you go. I'm giving Megan a really badly wrapped present, but it's
not
the
really
thought that
badly
counts.
Scrunch
Get
it
some
around.
of that ASMR.
ASMR. That's what they do, isn't it?
I hate that so much.
Oh, I'm already liking the look of that. Disney cats and dogs. So it's a mug with, is it all the Disney cats?
It's a lot of Disney cats.
It is a lot.
There's actually
isn't it?
more repetition on there than I realised, which made me a bit sad. But
it's beautiful.
and it's got Figaro.
It's got Figaro, that's the most important thing. It's got Lucifer, it's got Oliver, Duchess, Thomas O'Malley, Dinah. Yeah, it's an interesting selection of Disney cats. Mm-hmm. I love it.
And on the inside it says...
I haven't even looked at that yet. Home is where my cat is. Yes. That's so true.
It's Disney, it's cats.
It's so beautiful. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
There's another thing.
There's another thing.
Oh, wow! Oh, this is so appropriate. So, okay. So, this is the Disney pin for Hercules the musical, which we saw on the West End. And I didn't buy it at the time, but now I have it! Yay!
To add to your Disney pin collection.
I love it so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, I will have to put photos of both of these on the gram.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, they're so beautiful. Thank you so much. Those are great presents.
You're welcome. So that's my Disney update.
Worth the wait. Did you have anything else that you've done this month?
We went to see
Hoppers. Yes, I haven't seen that
Yes.
yet. Did you want to talk about that?
We went to see it before the premiere, which we didn't realise. Like, on all of the posters and stuff, it said it was coming out on the 6th of March.
Yeah.
And then we booked tickets to see it on the 28th of February. And we were like, okay, we're just going to do this. And it was everywhere. It was like, yeah, come see it on the 6th of March. But
yeah, because I remember
really
you saying on my birthday that you'd be to see it. And I was like,
confused.
what? It's not out yet.
Yeah, it was good actually. I think in terms of Pixar, it's the best that they've done for a little while. I wasn't a massive fan of the animation style.
Okay.
And the main character kind of annoyed me a bit. But I quite liked it. Overall, that doesn't sound like I liked it very much. No, it was very enjoyable. Like, the story was very good.
What I keep seeing is that it was really funny. Did you find it really funny?
Yes. The main thing that seems to have come out of it is the lizard. No,
yes.
Lizard. That's not nearly as prominent in the film.
Oh, interesting.
And the thing of him waving, like, he just does that, like, in a corner. Like, it's not nearly as big a deal as the, like, you'd think from social media.
Oh, definitely. But yeah.
So what comes next, Megan? What do we talk about next?
Next, I think we talk about our history with
Yes.
this film.
Yes.
So, Bronwyn,
Yes.
do you remember seeing Hercules for the first time?
No,
No.
I don't think I do. This film came out, I think, when I was 3, and I have no memory of seeing it for the first time. But I remember watching it as a young child and really enjoying it. I've always loved this film. I think I love it even more now. But no, I have no specific memories about it beyond... Actually, I don't even remember it. There's a picture of us meeting Hercules.
Yeah, we need to dig that out.
At what was then called MGM Studios, I think.
Oh, was it? Okay. I
think.
didn't remember that detail.
That might be wrong.
I came across my Hercules autograph from
nice.
that in my autograph book. Yeah, I feel very much the same. As far as I'm concerned, this film has always existed.
Yes.
I don't remember a time before Hercules. And I think we owned it
Yes.
on VHS.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think it was in kind of regular rotation, wasn't
Yeah.
it? That I think it was one we watched a lot.
Another thing I'll just say at this point, we'll get more into like the Greek
Oh,
stuff.
yes, we will.
Yes, we will. So I'm going to leave all of that to you. But just as a memory, I actually don't know much about like Greek mythology at all.
You will by the end of today.
Okay. I look forward to the lecture.
Yes.
And I remember we studied the Greek, like ancient Greeks, in I think year 4. So when I was about 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And I remember we made papier-mâché vases. We went to the British Museum to look at the Elgin marbles. # give them back.
Yes.
And we also watched a video about the story of Hercules. And I remember, I think everyone was like, "Yay, we're going to watch Hercules!" And the teacher being like, No, we're going to watch about the Greek myth of Hercules. And I remember being very disappointed by how dissimilar it is from the actual Greek myth about Hercules. But we'll get into that. But yeah, just as my associated memories.
I'd be fascinated if you remember
I'll try to
what
remember.
it says
Yes.
in that film.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of stuff in
Oh,
Hercules myth that's not very child friendly.
Oh, really? Oh.
So much.
Oh, okay.
So it would be really interesting to see if like that came into what
Okay.
they were told.
Yes.
So how did you feel about coming back to this film for the podcast?
Oh, very happy. This was a very easy one to do. I only watched it once a few weeks ago now because I know it so well. I didn't really feel I needed to watch it at all, but I watched it because I enjoy it. So when the Hat gave us this one, I was like, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yes. What about you?
No, I felt very similarly. I have watched it twice in the last month, but again, it was also familiar.
Yeah.
That I barely needed to the second time, but I did pick up on some little bits and pieces, having done the research.
Oh, okay.
And then kind of paying very close attention. I put the subtitles on, which I don't normally do. And I was picking out like the individual gods and stuff like that.
Nice.
So that was
That's
interesting.
Cool. That's cool.
But yeah, no, I had a good time.
Nice. Okay. What's it time for now? Is it haiku time?
I think it is haiku time, Bronwyn.
Okay, so I've done similar to last time with the haikus. I've written 3, and it's your job to figure out who is saying this haiku.
Okay.
It's
I'm
going to
concentrating.
really test your intelligence.
Okay.
This is the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I have big muscles. Phil has taught me to use them. Meg is my best gal.
My best gal. Who could this be? Who else has big muscles? Did your husband James write this one?
No, dude. Well, he has offered to help to write the haikus. After the last episode, he said to me, if you need any help with the haikus, just let me know, which I'm not sure if that's a compliment or not.
Yeah, so we may get some guest haikus.
We might get some guest haikus.
Yeah.
That's his contribution to the pod. Okay.
Well, I'm going to guess. I haven't actually
Oh, you haven't
guessed
guessed yet?
I'm going to guess that was Hercules.
That was Hercules.
Whoa.
Yes. Okay. Next one. I have flaming hair. I just hate the underworld. Meg's annoying.
I'm going to take that personally. Obviously, I have an affinity with Meg
Yes.
sharing a name. I'm going to go with that being Hades.
Nice.
Very
Nice. Final one. I look like a vase. I am controlled by Hades. Men are annoying.
Ah, well. That'll be our best gal,
That's
Meg.
our best gal. Yes. 100%. Amazing.
Very good. Thank you.
So Megan, tell us a bit about the history of this film. I mean, there's not much history here, is there?
No, I was going to draw that distinction, obviously, between history and mythology.
Oh, yes.
Well, just to make the point that
I was joking.
I thought you were making a very serious point that these were not real people.
No, I was like, there's so much here. There's a whole, just out of pure coincidence, the books that we have chosen, or two of the books that we have chosen to put our microphone on, are Collected Ancient Greek Novels and The Odyssey.
Perfect.
What are the chances? Anyway.
That's brilliant.
You
should have given those to me for my research.
I should have.
It's okay. I found my own.
It's alright.
It's
Well,
all right.
these are the kind of books you have when you live with James.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry. In all seriousness, tell us about the history and mythology of this film, Megan.
Yeah. So I'm basically just going to use this as an excuse to talk about Greek myths.
Great. Fantastic.
And yes, it is worth making the distinction between that and like actual ancient history. So these myths were propagated by the ancient Greeks, but we are not talking about historic figures here, so we don't need to necessarily be that concerned with accuracy. It's kind of a similar situation to what we were talking about last time with Snow White, that the material being used for Snow White were these fairy tales that were quite fluid, and there were lots of different iterations of them. The same is true of Greek myths. So that's just worth pointing out at the beginning. I thought I'd mention what I'm not going to talk about, which is the history of the company at the time.
Yeah.
So with Snow White, in our previous episode, we kind of set up a bit about what the Walt Disney Company was doing at the time. I thought we wouldn't do that with Hercules, because it is that interesting 90s period of the Disney Renaissance, but I think there are better films to talk about that with.
I agree.
Because this is a bit later on.
Yes.
Here in 1997 and past the peak as well.
Yes.
So I thought we won't really talk about that today. I think the 90s context is important to this film and what we see presented in it, but not so much what the company was doing.
That's fair.
So I thought it was important to set up a bit of context first about what they were trying to achieve with this film. Which, again, probably not accuracy. Again, it's funny the number of similarities that came up between my thoughts on this and my thoughts on Snow White, and I wouldn't necessarily have paired those two.
It's been really interesting. And I'll get to it when we talk more about the psychology, about some of the links between these films, and I would never have, if it wasn't for this podcast, have put these two films together to be like, and considering what we talked about last time, bringing it to this, really interesting.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Sorcerer's Hat. Thank you,
Yes,
Mickey.
it was meant to be.
Thank you,
It's a
Mickey.
useful comparison.
Anyway, yes, it's going to be really
So,
interesting.
what I was going to say about that here is that choosing Greek myths to animate is a very deliberate decision because it's such a rich and visual source material, like Snow White and the fairy tales. There was so much potential for them to bring in animation and beautiful colours and things like that. We've got the same with Greek myths. And it's worth saying that they did do some research about Greek mythology. They took a nice pre-production research trip to Greece and Turkey.
Amazing.
It's a nice life.
That's such a nice life.
Yeah.
You
to
don't
do
get
that
that
research.
working for the NHS.
No.
No.
I have just been to Vienna for a conference, so
It's a nice life.
I'm having a nice life.
The fanciest conference that ever conferenced.
It was, and actually, oh my goodness, I can't believe I hadn't made this connection, but the theme of the conference was Greek mythology.
It was meant to be. It was meant to be.
That's really odd that I didn't make that connection. I mean, it was actually a radiology conference, but all of the visuals were to do with Greek myths, and they had a lot of... Like, they even had statues that they'd made for this conference, and the main one was Athena with her owl, but you could see through Athena's arm to see her bones because it's a radiology conference. So yes, they did their research. They went to Greece and Turkey, and there was a consulting classicist.
What's that?
For the film. And he did end up defending the film afterwards to other classicists who were like, what on earth are you talking about?
Oh, for goodness sake, why have they been snobby about it? This is a family animation film. Why does it need to be, oh, well, Odysseus wouldn't have done this or whatever. Like, okay, fine.
Well,
fine.
Exactly. And again, coming back to the fluidity of Greek myths, so he defended it by saying, there is no true or correct version of Greek myth. During antiquity, the myths were constantly changing. So I make no claim that my version is the only true or correct one. My only claim is that I have considered all the available variants and chosen those which seem to be the most enduring and coherent.
Well, there you go.
So, they chose Greek myths as a broad inspiration, but the directors, Musker and Clements, were really inspired by classic Hollywood. And they wanted to make what they were calling an epic comedy, which was inspired by screwball comedies of the 30s and 40s. So they wanted a straight-laced hero and a sharp, sophisticated love interest. And I think we also see a lot of 90s influence on the story as well as those kind of 40s influences, because I think you see a lot of celebrity culture coming across. I mean, there are some very explicit references to 90s celebrity culture.
And that was big in the 90s anyway. We see that in other Disney films, that it was kind of cool at the time to make reference to things.
So yeah, that's the kind of 90s context of it. And not only kind of real life celebrities are influencing this story, it's like a superhero origin story, like Superman. And Musker and Clements directly referenced that by saying they were both fans of comic books and they wanted to do that sort of story.
It looks quite comic book. Now that you say that, actually, it has that sort of comic strip feel to it.
Yes, and I think part of that is that they got this, it was a British cartoonist that they got on board. Now, this is not, I haven't written this down, so this is just from memory, but I think it was a guy called Gerald Scarfe. That's what they wanted to do. They wanted to do an epic comedy, some sort of Greek myth, with these sort of Hollywood tropes in it. And when they were first thinking about doing this, kind of in the early 90s, they considered both Hercules and the Odyssey. But in the end, the Odyssey was considered too sacred and serious. Whereas Hercules, they thought they could have a bit more fun with.
Yes.
And then a final bit of, I'm sort of just trying to set the context here before diving into everything that's wrong. But top level, I just thought I'd mention, this film doesn't know if it's Greek or Roman.
No. I mean, the gospel music is a little bit out there.
Oh, that's true, yes.
So there's that. But yes, it's quite confused.
Yes, I mean, so yeah, there are influences from lots of time periods. But in particular, Hercules is the Roman name for the Greek hero Heracles.
I didn't know that.
Mind-blowing.
Glass shatter sound. Heracles and Hercules are
Same
the
dude.
same dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
So obviously there's a lot of commonality between Greek and Roman myths because the Romans kind of absorbed Greek mythology into their own mythology and it gave them all their own names. So it's kind of understandable, but it is curious when basically everything else in this film is Greek, but they've chosen the Roman name for Hercules, and I don't actually know why.
Hercules.
Yeah, maybe,
Maybe
it doesn't sound as good.
And you get Herc,
Yes.
which is a great sort of like man's man name.
That is true. That maybe that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And two other minor Roman things. Now I'm getting fussy here. The joke that is made where one of the little boys says, "Someone call IXII."
Yeah.
That only works in Roman numerals. It doesn't work in Greek numerals. They had a different numeral system.
You're ruining this film for me, Megan.
I know,
Let's
right?
speed this up. I can't be handling this.
And who put the glad in gladiator?
Hercules.
But gladiators are a Roman concept, not a Greek one. So there we go. I've entirely torn this film apart just with those 3 points.
People are going to stop listening to this podcast now because you are ruining a part of our childhoods.
Yeah.
Megan.
Because I'm a pedant. Well, if you think that's ruining it, let's get on to the actual Greek myths.
Okay, here we go.
I thought we'd start at the top of the family tree. So, Zeus and Hera.
Yes.
Did you know that they are brother and sister?
Not this again. Not more weird stuff for me to cope with.
What other weird stuff was there?
It was Snow White and the fact that she was 7.
Oh, there's so much more here.
Okay, fine. I suppose they're not human, and so the genetic component isn't as important.
This is the thing. So the Greek gods, they all come from a common ancestor. You've got so few of them at the beginning. In fact, you start with the Titans. We'll get back to the Titans, but the Titans came before the Olympian gods, and they're their ancestors.
Okay.
But yes, Zeus and Hera are brother and sister. They were both children of Kronos, who was a Titan. And Hades is another brother in that family.
Okay.
Okay, so Zeus, Hera, Hades, all siblings. In fact, so their dad, Kronos, nice guy, when Hera was born, he ate her.
As you do.
Yep. And then when Hades was born, Kronos ate him as well. And
But
in
how
fact,
are they still alive if he ate them?
well, so I think there were 5 siblings that as soon as they were born, their dad ate them, Kronos. And then it was Zeus, when he came along, he released his brothers and sisters from
so they were still
Kronos.
alive.
So, probably an appropriate point to talk a little bit about Hades.
Yeah.
So, he was god of the underworld.
He ran the underworld.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what we see in this film is quite a Christian idea of the devil.
Yes.
With his flaming hair, with the
Yes.
fact that he makes deals. At one point he even references having like brimstone in his ear, so it's just the idea of hell.
Yeah.
And at one point Meg says, "Speak of the devil," when he appears. So they're very obviously playing on this idea of the devil. But that's not who he was to the Greeks. Right. He was just an important god, like all the other gods, in charge of an important world, which was the underworld. So yes, that's Hades. Okay, so let's get on to Hercules, or perhaps in this context I will refer to him as Heracles, so we can draw that distinction. So Heracles' parentage,
Yes.
we should talk about.
I'm worried.
Because, I think you probably should be. It's not great. Zeus is Heracles' dad.
Okay.
Hera is not his mum.
Ugh. The things men will do instead of going to therapy.
Well, indeed. So, his mum is Alcmene. Now, I don't know if you picked up on the name as in the film.
No.
But the human parents who look after him
Yes.
are called Alcmene and Amphitryon.
Right, yes.
So Alcmene was actually Heracles' mum. And what
Was
happened...
she human?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
What happened was that Amphitryon had gone off to war.
Oh.
Zeus...
The classic.
Yeah. Yeah, this is quite classic for Zeus. Zeus liked the look of Alcmene. Zeus was quite the womanizer. Zeus disguises himself as Amphitryon and pretends to return home. Yeah. And then sleeps with Alcmene. And that's how Heracles is conceived.
That's going to be awkward when he comes back from war.
Yeah, well, he comes back from war the next day. And in fact, there's another night of passion, and another child is conceived. So in fact, Heracles, and this happens all the time in Greek myth, that you'll have twins where one was conceived by one father and one was conceived by another. So yeah, Heracles had a twin. So yes, Hera is not the mother of Hercules, and in fact, she is the villain of the whole Heracles story, because as ever, she is absolutely infuriated by Zeus's infidelity. So she very much sets her face against Heracles. So Hera's the villain of Heracles' story, not Hades.
I see.
So in fact, she sends 2 snakes to kill the baby Heracles, which is probably where we get the 2 snakes from in the Hercules film. There's this other story, which is not relevant, but I feel needs to be known. There's a bit where, for different reasons, according to different versions of the story, Hera ends up breastfeeding the baby Heracles, and he sucks so hard that milk sprays across the cosmos.
Across the cosmos?
That is how we get the Milky Way.
Okay.
So next time we see the Milky Way in the sky, we'll know why.
I will think about that. I'll be thinking about that. That's a really strong suckle.
Yeah, he was a strong boy.
So was he really strong then from a baby?
So he was a half god.
Yeah.
He's mortal. Strength isn't the major thing, actually. Okay. So he's kind of trained to be a hero, and his particular thing was running really fast. Actually, the whole bodybuilder physique wouldn't have been possible or even desirable in the ancient world.
Oh, okay. Which is interesting when we think about, like, the Olympics being a sort of Greek phenomenon, if I'm right.
Yes.
So they were really into sport.
Yeah,
not
definitely.
From not like big muscles.
No, you're right. They were into sport.
Yeah.
There is a myth that Heracles started off the Olympic Games in honour of Zeus.
That's cool.
But yeah, not big into their bodybuilding.
No, okay.
Whereas I feel like bodybuilding, it does feel quite a 90s phenomenon.
Yes, I think it was particularly big then, wasn't it? Like, people... It's very interesting, isn't it, how perceived body shape in terms of, like, attractive or changes. Yeah. And we see this in both men and women. So, you know, the 90s was a time when women shrank. We're seeing that now. The smaller, the better.
Yeah.
And men, there's been this, how big they are and how they're big. So, like... that then, yeah, I think it really was like this sort of steroid looking of like massive, whereas I think we're not as much into that now. I don't think that's changed.
And as Hercules in this film, he is that big,
that very
big,
classic,
muscly
like
guy.
Yeah.
Shall we come on to talk about Megara?
Yes, we can talk about Megara.
So Megara was daughter of the king of Thebes. Okay. So Thebes does feature strongly in the Heracles story. Real place.
The big
important
olive.
Place. The big olive, indeed. And so she and Heracles get married, and they have, well, different numbers of children depending on which version of the story you look at. One of Hera's punishments for Heracles for being conceived by Zeus was that she deludes him into thinking that Megara and their children are monsters. Okay. And so he kills them.
Oh. Yeah. That's not nice.
No, it's not good.
Aww.
And this is why he ends up doing the 12 labours of Heracles, which you will have heard of.
I thought there were 7.
Oh!
For some reason in my head there were 7 labours.
Oh,
Why did I think there were
12.
7? Okay, there were 12.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I remember
Mm.
from the video. Okay, so there were 12.
I think there was supposed to be 10 to begin with, and then 2 got added on at the end.
Classic.
And so we do see references to these labours in the Hercules film, because the Hydra is one of the labours.
Yeah.
So is the lion.
Yeah.
So we see quite a lot of it in the Zero
There's
to
like a
Hero
montage
sequence.
Yeah.
Yes. Though you've also got some extras in there as well, because you've got the Minotaur, that's got nothing to do with Heracles, and you've got a Gorgon, and that's got nothing to do with Heracles. So.
You're just ruining it, Megan.
Uh,
Sorry, that was me. You pedant.
I am a pedant. It's fun. I think one of the things that I picked up on just watching it last night was Phil mentions a couple of the labours when Hercules is having his vase
Wearing
portrait
scar.
done. Yes, yeah, exactly.
Wearing scar.
And as Phil is talking about what they've got scheduled for the afternoon, and it's references to other labours.
That's cool.
So there's this one where he has to like clear out the stables of these massive horses, and so it's a whole load of horse poo that he has to clear. And Phil says a thing about, oh, you need to speak to this guy about his stables, don't wear your new sandals. So it's reference to that.
Nice.
Yeah. And the final labour is capturing Cerberus, the 3-headed dog. So we do see Hercules do that as well when he goes down to hell. Not hell. When he goes down to the underworld. See? To save Meg, he arrives on Cerberus. Heracles, he had this destiny to save the gods on Olympus from the giants.
Okay.
Now, Hercules, the film, seems to conflate the idea of titans and giants. They are not the same thing in Greek mythology. As we've covered, the titans were the forebears of the Olympian gods. And the giants were born from the blood of the castrated Uranus. His blood fell to the ground.
What?
The giants were born out of it.
That's just crazy. That's just silly. Come on.
So yes, Titans and giants are different things.
Okay.
And there are 2 major wars in Greek mythology that are combined in the Hercules film. So you've got the Titanomachy, which is the war between the Olympian gods and the Titans, and you've got the Gigantomachy, which is the war between the gods and the giants, and that was the one that Heracles took a part in. And Hades had nothing to do with conspiring with any Titans or giants. In both wars, he fought on the side of the gods.
Did he have a Pegasus?
He did not have a Pegasus. Pegasus has got nothing to do with Heracles. There was a Pegasus, though. There was a Pegasus. Pegasus was born from the throat of a decapitated Medusa.
That did not happen. That's fake news.
Pegasus is associated with a different Greek hero called Bellerophon. While we're on that sort of point, Philoctetes did exist. He was a friend of Heracles rather than a trainer or anything, and he was just a man. He wasn't a satyr. Okay, you'll be pleased to know we're coming to the end of this.
Let's do this.
Coming to the end of the inaccuracies. So let's come to the end of the story of Heracles, where Nessus the centaur is very significant. Mm-hmm. So in Hercules, you've got the character of Nessus the centaur. He's the one that's captured Meg at the beginning.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
So he is significant in the Heracles story. So this is later on when Heracles, he's killed his wife and children, he's done his 12 labours in penance, he's also helped save the Olympian gods in the war against the giants, and he's married a new wife called Deianira. What happens is that Nessus the centaur offers to carry Deianira over a river, and then he tries to violate her. So in response, Heracles shoots him with an arrow, and Heracles has these arrows that are dipped in Hydra poison. And so Nessus is lying there dying, and he tells Deinira to use his blood, which has been poisoned by the Hydra poison, but Deinira hasn't put that together. He tells Deinira to use the centaur's blood to anoint Hercules' shirt if he's ever been unfaithful. That if you dip, what he tells Deinira is, if you dip the shirt in my centaur blood, get Hercules to wear it, he'll stop being unfaithful. And so Hercules, he kind of takes after his dad in this way. He's quite often unfaithful. And so next time he brings a mistress home, Deinira thinks, right, it's time to give him this shirt. And so she does. And it corrodes his flesh. And he dies. And in response, she kills herself.
I'm just thinking back to what you said about the classicists being really annoyed about the amount of changes. And you think... Yes. Yeah, I think they didn't need to make a lot of changes.
Yeah.
None of this is child friendly.
Yeah, can you imagine if this was in a Disney film?
Right, okay.
So to finish off,
yeah.
Zeus raises Hercules' soul to Olympus.
Okay. Way!
Hey! So that's and he's born up on a cloud. So that is what happens at the end of Hercules. And there's nice end to the story. Hera adopts him.
She kind of finally...
Yeah, after all that
time decided that, you know what, it's okay.
And then Zeus raises him up to be a constellation. So that is from the Greek myth.
Nice. That's Phil's boy.
Exactly.
That's Phil's boy.
Sort of. Sort of. So yes, there you are. Those are all the many changes. There are like the occasional things that they get right. The fates, they did pretty well.
I love the fates.
Yeah. 2 more things to say about history in this film. So I just thought I'd talk a little bit about the message of this film compared to the original Greek myth. So the opening question of Hercules is, what is the measure of a true hero?
Yes.
And as the answer at the end is, a true hero isn't measured by the size of his strength, but by the strength of his heart.
Mm-hmm.
This is obviously quite a 90s message.
Very 90s, very classic Disney Renaissance.
Yes.
Very classic, yes.
Not very classic myth.
No. I mean, do the classic myths, do they have messages?
Well, so they definitely had ideas of heroism.
Right, yeah.
So to be a hero in Greek myth is to be famous and spectacular and blessed by the gods.
Yeah.
It's not really associated with any kind of morality. And there's this idea of a hero versus what it means to be a true hero is not a concept that they would have recognised. I came across this fantastic master's thesis about this called Going the Distance, Themes of the Hero in Disney's Hercules. So this was by Amy Elizabeth Burchfield, to credit her.
Amy Elizabeth Burchfield, can I just say you've got your life completely right?
Yes.
That you're doing your master's thesis on Hercules. You have made every choice in your life right.
Yes. And there's the point, she makes many good points, but one thing that she talks about is how the Hercules myth has sought to define the true nature of heroism for the societies in which that myth is told. So the ancient Greek Hercules, for example, portrays heroism as clever but pious navigations through the vacillations of the fate and caprice of the gods, whereas the Romans, when they took on Hercules, they adapted the same story, but they portray the heroism of Hercules as self-determined destiny that's not influenced by the divine. So the Greek and Roman myths have different ideas of heroism. And then she makes the point that Disney isn't interested in complete fidelity to the Greek myth. We can definitely see that. And it makes that immediately clear. You know that going into the film, that you've got, what's his name? Charlton Heston doing the voiceover at the beginning, and then you've got the muses interrupting and saying, lighten up, dude.
Yes. Yeah.
So they make it clear from the outset, like, this is not your grandfather's Greek myth. She says, the true power of any myth is in its power to present truth to its audience through adaptation, and so it ought to, and does, adapt and change as the truth changes.
Yes.
That's kind of an interesting idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Truth changing for different societies.
Absolutely.
Ultimately, the myth of Hercules is too dynamic to have had a fixed canon to offend. It spread in various forms to numerous cultures, both modern and ancient. And what the film does is reject the ancient idea of heroism in favour of a modern idea of heroism. So you have this, he tries to be a hero, he's made into an action figure, and the film says, no, that's not what we think heroes are anymore. And so she concludes by saying, Hercules should be given another chance, not as a rehashing of the classical myth, but as a story that helps us define the hero in our own culture by juxtaposing it with the hero of old. I've got one more point to make. This was inspired by a conversation that I had at my book group, which made me have some interesting thoughts about this film. So we read a retelling of a Greek myth, which was called Circe. And something that came out of that conversation was that the other ladies in my book group are a generation older than me. And as for their generation, it was people who were privately educated who had familiarity with Greek myths.
Right, yes.
Whereas those who went to state schools, they didn't know anything about Greek myths. And I thought, I think that's different for our generation. I wondered if this film in 1997 went some way to making Greek myths more accessible to the masses. Not necessarily accurately, but sort of inspiring an interest, at least. I think that's true of me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you think it's true of you.
Yeah, definitely. I think I was always disappointed when the myth didn't live up to the film.
So you're very disappointed today.
But no, absolutely. I mean, like I say, the reason, for example, when I was in year 4 studying the Greek myths that I was at all interested was because of this film. Because I was like, oh, it's going to be like the film. And it's not, but like it sparks an interest. Definitely.
Yes. Definitely. I looked this up actually because I was interested to know. Greek mythology has been on the national curriculum in the UK since 1991. That's when the national curriculum came in. Okay. So for our generation, we were always going to be taught about Greek myths, but I suspect we were all probably a lot more interested in it because there was a Disney film.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
And I think it's following on from a trend. There was something in my book group, quite a few people mentioned having seen the film Jason and the Argonauts, and that's what they knew about Greek myth. So this idea of democratising Greek myths has been happening for a while. And actually, Musker and Clements did say that they wanted an accessible hero. And I think we'll come on to talk about the music later on, but I think the music helps make it that much more accessible as well.
I agree. Okay, so
Bronwen, talk to me about the psychology in Hercules.
Okay, so I'm going to touch on 2 subjects. 2 quite different subjects. A bit like last time. Actually, very similar to last time, because we're going to start with neurodiversity.
Excellent.
Like we did last time. Because I think there's an awful lot of discussion around neurodiversity in this film. And then I'm going to talk about late discovery adoption.
Oh, yes. I did think that would be an interesting thing to discuss. Yes.
So that's what I'll come to. But I want to start with neurodiversity because I think this is the reason I love this film. Is because of how well I think this topic comes in. So we talked a bit about neurodiversity in our last podcast when we were talking about Dopey in Snow White.
Yep.
But I spoke about it very much within the specific frame of autism, as I say. I don't know if Dopey has autism or not, but he shares qualities. And I'm going to make the same argument here. I can't diagnose Hercules with anything, but he certainly, for me, represents an awful lot of the challenges that neurodiverse people have. So I'm going to start by actually answering the question, what is neurodiversity? This is a term that was first used in the 1990s to describe a new scientific paradigm explaining how people experience the world. So I'm going to go back to my trusty source, the National Autistic Society, because their work is very good and their website really is very good. So the way they describe neurodiversity is as a way of saying that human brains are different to each other. Because we all have different brains, we all experience and react to things differently to each other. It's important to say there is no single definition of neurodiversity, but the neuro is referring to the nervous system, i.e. the brain, the spinal cord and nerves, the system that sends messages from our brain to the rest of our body and back again. And diversity refers to variations or differences within a group. So whilst we all experience the world differently, some groups have significant shared differences to the typical experience and have different reactions to most people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So in the United Kingdom, approximately 1 in 7 people have some kind of neurodivergence, and that ranges. For example, about 1% of people are autistic, and about 10% of people experience dyslexia, which is another form of neurodivergence. So just to make this clear, examples of neurodiversity include autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, Tourette syndrome, which has been a lot in the news recently, and epilepsy as well comes into that. And it's important, I want to say, just to get on my soapbox for a minute, these are differences in the human experience, not disorders. In a society that is able to accept difference and is accessible for everyone. Unlike the ancient world.
Yes.
Which is what we are presented with. So I've got this theory that when Hercules, if we take out for a second that this is based on a myth, and kind of think about it more from, you've come at it from the ancient historical perspective, I'm going to come at it from like the current psychological perspective. I see turning mortal as turning neurotypical. That is someone who is not neurodiverse. Because in the ancient world, most people, or in myths, most people are human. They aren't gods. Or the norm is to be human, right? So I'm not saying anyone in this film can be diagnosed with any form of neurodiversity. But with that in mind, to be immortal, powerful, godlike, is to be neurodiverse. I believe in
superpower.
Yeah, it's a exactly. The way I see this film is Hercules is constantly being asked to fit into the ancient Greek world. He's been asked to change who he is. He's rejected by others, not his immediate family. You know, things like perhaps we should call him Jercules. That's another reason they called him Hercules.
To me, that joke works.
Jercules.
Yes, because what could you do with Heracles? I mean,
yeah,
it just sounds good.
Yeah. So these are just phrases that they say to him, sort of like in the first 10 minutes of him being like a teenager. You know, perhaps we should call him Hercules. He's too dangerous to be around normal people. He's a freak. He can't control his strength. He is too strong for the mortal world. And I think the argument that the film comes to is his skill set is valuable, but it's different. And in terms of the human condition, we are conditioned to be worried and concerned about things that are different. We don't like difference. The bit where I get really emotional is where Hercules sort of reflects on what this is like for him. And he says, I try to fit in, I really do. I just can't. Sometimes I feel like I really don't belong here, like I'm supposed to be someplace else. And I really think that is so often the experience of neurospicy, as I like to call neurospicy people, is this world is not created for them. Our society, certainly in the West at least, is very neurotypical in its outlook, and there's nothing wrong with that, but the problem with it is it's so unaccepting of other ways of experiencing the world. And I think we see this quite often. I think he has to travel far for answers, and again I think that relates a lot to the experience of neurodiverse people who have to work incredibly hard to get answers, to get assessments, to receive a formal diagnosis.
Long waiting lists, having to try and get reasonable adjustments at work or whatever, at university, wherever. Extremely difficult sometimes. So now we're going to talk about Phil. Oh, Phil, okay.
I don't particularly like Phil.
No, me neither.
I've got a fur wedgie.
Oh man, that's such a bad line.
I hate it so much.
Oh.
But
And he's a lech, but we'll come back.
he is a
that.
lech, yes. He is able to recognise Hercules' skills can be refined and used for good, even if he has his own reasons for wanting to do that. And he doesn't really want to do it at the beginning because he's just fed up. He's burnt out. He's experiencing burnout, like poor man or poor goat, whatever he is. So in One Last Hope, he says things like painting a masterpiece, it's a work of heart. It takes more than sinew. It depends on what's in you. You have to continue to grow. And those, again, are really affirming things to say to somebody, which I really like.
And very modern.
And very modern too.
Not the Greek idea of heroism.
I think it's I'm straying very far from the myth here. And I should say, I don't expect a myth to be able to hold a concept of neurodiversity because we didn't have that until the 1990s. So why would an ancient Greek myth have it? But I think it's really... And this is what I liked about what they did with it. Is like you were saying, that master's thesis about finding truth in these stories in different ways. Truth changes, and we've found a new truth here. Hercules is finally accepted by the populace once his skills are useful to them. Once he starts saving them from all the beasts, which is quite sad for me that he's not accepted on his own terms. So again, the National Autistic Society talks about what the benefits are of identifying as neurodiverse, and this includes having a positive sense of identity, having a validation of experiences through being understood by others, and having a way to connect with other neurodivergent people and a sense of community. So the acceptance from others is so important for the mental well-being of neurodiverse people, but it's also important that we don't just do it based on whether they're useful to us. Meg is interesting when she's talking to Hercules about his differences. He says to her, when I was younger, I would have done anything to be like everyone else. And she doesn't really understand that, which suggests that she's sort of representing a neurotypical response here. Like, why would you want to be like everyone else when you're so different? You'd do anything just to fit in. And then actually Hades talks about this as well, but he gets it. Because he says, now you know what it feels like to be like everyone else. Isn't it just peachy?
Yes.
So he gets that, being like everyone else, being neurotypical, is not as good as if we look at someone's life in the complete round, that we need all those different experiences. And it's our differences that bring us to life and make us who we are.
Hades is very accepting of his own differences.
Yes, he is. He's very accepting. He's
very self-assured.
He has I love his self-assurance. I wish I had his confidence. This film is about acceptance of neurodiversity, and if we're looking to frame the message of this film, like you just said, within a neurodiverse frame, it's home is the people that accept us for who we are, regardless of how useful we are to them. And Hercules saying, I think I finally found where I belong. That always gives me feels. Gives me feels.
Does it complicate the ending in that case? Because he gets taken up to Olympus, and in contrast to the original Greek myth, he chooses to become mortal.
Yeah.
And so perhaps this is taking the analogy too far, but if we're equating mortality with neurotypicalness.
Yeah, neurotypicality.
Yeah. That's a good word. Trips off the tongue. Then at the end, has he chosen neurotypicality?
No, it's a very good point, and perhaps this is where my analogy falls down, because what he wants is he wants to live a human life with Meg. That's what he chooses. So I think it's nice that he gets to have what he chooses, and that's what is accepted as his choice. And perhaps what also has happened over the course of the film is that the mortal world has become accepting of him and his difference, and can now live with his difference and accept it. So perhaps at the beginning, the mortal world is like a quote unquote bad neurotypicality, where it's sort of like, no, this is, neurotypicality is always going to be the norm. It's always going to, but it's about the difference between a bad neurotypical world that will not accept difference, and at the end where we seem to have a world which is good, compassionate neurotypicality, where it's like, that there is a norm, but we are incredibly accepting and loving and wanting different experiences, and to bring all of those in, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Does that sort of answer the question?
I think so. And I was just thinking as well that perhaps being up on Olympus with the other, let's say, neurodiverse people, perhaps that's sort of the safe option, that you can be different amongst different people. But he's chosen something that is actually slightly more challenging by being with Meg, who hasn't earlier in the film understood his differences, but she still loves him and he loves her. So it's not the safe choice, but maybe the right choice for him, because that's where he now feels at home.
Yes, absolutely. So I've got a couple more papers to talk about. So this is by Black et al., a paper called Resilience in the Face of Neurodivergence. So at a population level, evidence suggests that neurodivergent individuals face poorer outcomes compared to neurotypical individuals across a range of domains, such as lower school participation and educational attainment, greater levels of unemployment, and poor and physical mental health. A range of adversities experienced by neurodivergent individuals increases the likelihood of these poor outcomes. For example, neurodivergent individuals are more likely to have a greater incidence of adverse childhood experiences. We spoke about those in our last episode.
Yeah.
And peer rejection and victimisation. I spoke a bit about that in terms of Dopey, and I think he's experiencing quite a lot of these poorer outcomes. It should be noted that desired outcomes in these areas may not be the same for neurotypical people and neurodiverse people. Everyone wants different. The concept of a good outcome is different for everybody based on what the goals are for their life. This paper identified the importance of support systems such as family and friends, community participation, and acceptance and recognition of individual capabilities to support a neurodivergent person's resilience. That is the ability to bounce back from adversity. I have quite a lot of issues with the concept of resilience. A society that overemphasises the importance of resilience, which is that ability to bounce back, runs in danger of actually asking itself the question, are we putting people in situations that they shouldn't have to be resilient from? You know, people who are in war-torn countries, we should just make them more resilient. Well, how about we stop going to war, for example? That's like a bit of an obvious or silly example.
But a lower level example, I'm probably not alone in having had resilience training in the workplace, and you do kind of feel like, maybe you could just make this a mentally better place to work.
Precisely, exactly. It should not always be on the individual to be resilient. This is, I suppose, what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
And I think what is good about this film, if we compare it to Snow White in the presentation of neurodiversity, in a way that isn't very good, doesn't have the concepts fully formed, which makes sense because it came so much earlier and the concept of neurodiversity was just simply not there. But I think what this film shows, I think it's evidence of, and I don't want to pin this to Disney, but just generally our understanding of difference is shown to be so much better and much more accepting. We're a much more positive affirming society, even in the 90s, which is a long time ago now. And I'd like to think we've come even further since then. I think if Hercules was to be made again today, we'd see even more of an understanding of this concept, I think.
Yes.
So finally, we will one final paper on neurodiversity. So Dwyer in 2022 wrote a paper called The Neurodiversity Approaches, What Are They and What Do They Mean for Researchers, for the Journal of Human Development, where they said that neurodivergence is not inherently negative and may instead be reflective of natural human variation. Disability arises from a poor fit between the individual and their environment, which is often more suited and designed to the dominant neurotype from challenges that lie solely within an individual. I think what this is basically saying is that within the huge variation in humans, we're going to see lots of different variation in loads of different ways in terms of someone's physical health, their mental health, their cognitive abilities, and all of those things are valuable and necessary. And the issue that we often experience is people can be disabled by the society that they're in, by a lack of ramps or a lack of awareness of things like, well, if you're working with someone who's autistic and who would prefer softer light, for example, or less noise, things like that. Really simple things that we can make a difference for. And I don't think that this film quite goes that far about not just saying, okay, how can we help you fit into our world, Hercules, but okay, how can we make this world better for you in terms of you're really strong, so lots of fragile things might be difficult for you, so how can we help with that? There's not much of that, but again...
No. He has to transform in order to fit the society.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if they do make a live action version of Hercules, which I sincerely hope that they don't do, what I would really like, if they listen to this podcast and they decide to buy into my idea that Hercules is a neurodivergent icon, which I believe he is, that they don't just think about helping him fit into the neurotypical ancient Greek world, but think about adding into the film ways that the rest of the world can adapt to be accessible to him, as opposed to him just being accessible to their world, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
That would be a really modern 21st century way of thinking about this story. Okay, so that's everything I have to say on neurodiversity and this film.
Nice, yeah, very interesting. It makes a lot of sense.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to talk about adoption now. The first thing I want to say is I love that the two films that we've watched, for better or for worse, Disney is recognising that parenting really does go beyond biological ties, which is really important and worthy. Even if in last time it was the evil stepmom, this time it's better. Hercules has two adoptive human parents who love him very much. And I really like that Disney, and this is throughout their films, we see this multiple times, recognises that adoption is a valuable and really important parenting option. I really like, that's so important. However, I have some issues with his Earth parents. They only told him he was adopted when he was 17. I don't think it's a wonder he was having identity difficulties. I'm actually, based on the information that I've read since, I am really surprised he's actually not as distressed as I think he could be by that information. So Hercules is what is known in the literature as a late discovery adoptee. That is someone who finds out, well, I'll get into actually how late it is. It's really not that late, but finding out later than they should that they've been adopted. And the common recommendation from professionals, and I should say it will have been since the 90s when this film was made, is that adoption disclosure should be done at the earliest age possible. Really, you should be talking to a baby about it from the time that they are adopted. Like, if you're adopting a baby, you should be talking to them about it. Because even though they're not talking back, they can understand what you're saying. It's very hard to get data on this, on how many adopted children may have experienced this phenomenon. But in Australia, between the 1920s and the 1970s, an estimated 9% or more of the 200,000 children who were adopted in that 50-year period were late discoverers. So that's like 1 in 10. That's quite worrying, I think.
Well, I just had no knowledge of this at all, really. I didn't know there was any suggestion.
Yeah.
And it seems to be more than just a suggestion. All of the professionals are saying you should tell a child.
Oh, I'm going to get into it, Megan.
I didn't know.
I'm going to reference another paper from the Journal of Family Issues.
Oh!
We're back in the Journal of Family
Friends
Issues.
of the pod!
Friends of the pod, Journal of Family Issues. What does this say about Disney films that we've gone back to this journal twice? Baden et al. Wrote a paper called Delaying Adoption Disclosure, a survey of late discovery adoptees. So late discovery of adoption is linked to psychological distress and feelings of anger, betrayal, depression, and anxiety. Those who learnt of their adoption from age 3 or older reported more distress and lower life satisfaction when controlling for the amount of time adoptees have known of their adoption status and their use of coping strategies. 3.
Wow.
Age 3. So it's around about the age of 3 that we start to routinely build memories, build a memory bank that we can go back to. It is possible to develop memories younger than that, but it's around about the age of 3 that we really start to develop a sense of self-identity. Children will recognise themselves in the mirror, that sort of thing. I was surprised by how early that was, but actually I was talking to James about it, and the psychology makes sense from a developmental perspective. So yeah, 3. Adoptees also indicated a desire for communicative openness and reported beneficial coping methods, including supportive relationships and seeking contact with birth relatives. The person who was the lead author on this paper did an interview about it for their university, and they said this: a lot of people think children can't understand the nuances and complexities of adoption when they're young. I often tell families that they can use children's books as guides. As children's books get more detailed and complex as children get older, so should the details and explanations of adoption.
Yeah.
Growing up thinking that you know your heritage and then learning what you have been told is false is extremely distressing for late discovery adoptees. It can trigger large issues around identity, and identity is already pretty complex. To wait until middle childhood, adolescence, or even adulthood to tell a person that he or she was adopted means that the families would have had to tell many lies, half-truths, and total fabrications by the time the truth is finally shared or discovered. Study respondents reported that open communication, supportive relationships, and contact with birth relatives and other adoptees were helpful. One of the most interesting findings was that if we don't account for coping behaviours, those who experienced the most distress from delayed adoption were adolescents, i.e. Hercules age. However, when we accounted for increased coping skills and options available to adults, we understood that distress actually increased as people got older. Our findings really emphasise how secrecy and lies in adoption become corrosive to those involved. And I've just been thinking about, as I've been speaking, just things like, in the modern world, things like your genetics and what you might be predisposed to or not. You might be thinking, oh, well, there's no cancer in my family or whatever. And actually, you don't know that at all.
No, I think it would be much harder to keep that secret now.
Yes.
Than even kind of just a few decades
I don't
ago.
think you could. And that's interesting, isn't it, actually? One last paper, Passmore et al. In 2008 wrote in the Family Relationships Quarterly, the issues of trust and betrayal that can be caused by late discovery adoption may transfer to other adult relationships. Preliminary evidence is emerging that many of these late discoverers feel that they have not received acknowledgement of the particularity of their experience, the long-term effects of this discovery involving personal losses and disrupted relationships, or recognition that an injustice may have been done to them. So this is what I mean. Hercules is very chill. He's just like, you found me?
Yeah.
But I think they frame it within the context of it's actually a relief to him, because he's like, he's also handed the what would we call it? He's handed
medallion.
The symbol of the gods.
Yes,
which perhaps suggests that he might be a god. Which I don't know. That helps, knowing that you're not actually mortal. That might help him and his self-esteem and his self-identity. But yeah, he's very relaxed about the whole thing, and he's very comfortable building relationships with Phil and Meg, which I don't think we'd actually see in real life. Once again, I'm here to say that Disney doesn't necessarily represent people in their actual experience as they would have it, but it's an interesting...
Or accurate mythology.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just here to criticise.
It's actually a great film.
We love this film.
But there we go. So, late discovery adoption, not chill.
I do like that we return to his adoptive parents twice.
Yes.
Which is really nice.
He gets them a house, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. A really nice house.
He buys them a really nice house, and then right at the end he goes back to them as well.
Yes, I think that's really good.
Yes,
you could imagine that maybe in an earlier Disney film he would have just moved on, and that would have been them done.
Yes.
Goodbye,
and hopefully now he can have a relationship with both his adoptive parents and his biological, if we can call it that in a god's way, both parents, which would be amazing because they're both really important.
Okay. So, are we ready to talk about the music?
I'm so ready to talk about the music.
So, Bronwyn.
Yeah.
I wondered if you wanted to start us off talk about the music, because I'm aware that this has some of your favourite Disney music.
It does. So my favourite Disney song of all time is Go the Distance. It is my fight song. It is my little neurospicy heart's fight song. So it was nominated for Best Original Song at the Oscars and Golden Globes, but it lost to My Heart Will Go On from Titanic, which is also a great song.
Yes, and so big at the time.
Song. It's a huge song. I am less fond of the Michael Bolton version, which was the single.
I was going to ask you about that.
So I preferred the film version. But this version, the Michael Bolton version, got to number 24 on the Billboard Hot 100, which is kind of insane. That's like creeping into Taylor Swift's like not quite as high as hers, but like by modern standards. And it also got to number 1 on the Hot Adult Contemporary Tracks. So clearly other people disagree with me, but I absolutely love that song. I think it's really well performed for the film as well. I was really sad about the musical version. I thought the musical version was really flat. They also sped it up. I felt listening back to it. They just tried to run through it as quickly as they can. I think what I also like about it is this is what I think the Renaissance would call them, the I Want song.
Yes.
I quite like it because most of the I Want songs I think are done by women. And I like that. Don't get me wrong. I love, like, for example, Part of Your World from Ariel. I absolutely love that song. But I like the fact that it's a man because we don't often hear the men do the I Want song.
No, the only other one that springs to mind is Quasimodo singing it Out There.
Yes, those are the two, whereas I think basically all the others are.
Yeah, all the others.
And I love Out There as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love this one. It's my fight song. Do you have anything else you want to say about Go the Distance?
Oh. Well, I was going to ask you about the pop version that they put over the credits, because this is a thing that they did in the 90s, wasn't it?
Yes.
And I never like the pop version as much as the original film version.
No. I didn't particularly care for it either. It was on one of my CDs, one of my many Disney soundtrack CDs, and I was always a bit like, compared to the film version. So the next song I've got some stuff written about is I Won't Say I'm in Love.
Great song!
Which is a great alternative to the second act love song, which is, like Beauty and the Beast or A Whole New World. This is like a kind of an alternate version to that, which I really liked. I did like the Belinda Carlisle version of this, which is like the pop version.
Oh, I don't think I've heard that.
Oh, you're gonna have to listen to it. I quite like it. I think it's quite fun. It's not as good. It's not on the official soundtrack. I'm not quite sure why, but again, I had it on one of my CDs. Apparently it was written to replace another song called I Can't Believe My Heart, which is a slower ballad, but they thought that Meg was too tough and hardened by life for the song to be realistic.
Yes, I read about this. So it was the animator for Meg who actually said, I don't think she would have a normal ballad love song. She's too sparky, she's too witty, she's too worldly.
Yes, she's too worldly, I think that's the exact word. Yeah.
You can listen, so Susan Egan, who does the voice of Meg and does all the singing, she is fantastic. She has recorded that ballad,
I haven't heard that.
I Can't Believe My Heart, which I went and listened to, and I thought it was alright, but I much prefer I Won't Say I'm in Love, which is a great song.
Yeah. So the music was composed by Alan Menken, who is probably my favourite Disney composer. He's the goat. He is a goat.
He is the goat and an EGOT.
He's an EGOT. He's the goat. He's a Disney legend. And this was the last Disney Renaissance film for which he composed music. He would come back to compose for Disney again, but not for a little while. And he based I Won't Say I'm in Love on songs that he wrote for Little Shop of Horrors. I do not like.
Oh, interesting, that connection when you don't like Little Shop of Horrors. I do not like
Little Shop of Horrors at all. Yeah, it's a love song with a sense of humour, said lyricist David Zippel. The actress Sarah Egan noted that she struggled to, quote, keep up with the 5 women of colour who were playing the muses, who I'm going to name. I think it's very important that we name them, because they are sensational, the women who play the muses. So Cheryl Freeman, Lilias White, Vanessa Y. Thomas, Lashenzi, and Ros Ryan. They're just so
They were
good
brilliant.
throughout the film. And she said that she struggled to keep up with them because they were doing a lot of ad libs. Speaking of them, they were not the original pick
No.
to play the Muses. I will forever be grateful that the Spice Girls did not do this film.
It doesn't feel right, does it?
Yes. The Spice Girls declined the offer due to scheduling conflicts. And I just think it was much more appropriate to champion a group of women of colour, and if they particularly when they went down the gospel route. The lyricist was David Zippel, who has not... I looked him up on Wikipedia. I have not heard of anything else he has done, which is weird, seeing as this is the man who wrote the lyrics for Go the Distance, which is my favourite Disney film. He doesn't, I don't think, ever does any more work for Disney again.
And some of the lyrics in this are so clever.
Yes. I had forgotten until doing this research that there is a dropped song from the singer called Shooting Star. I had the Boyzone version on one of my Disney soundtracks.
I listened to that.
It's so 90s.
It's very cheesy.
Yeah, you can understand why they went with Go the Distance as sort of the I Want song, because it's so cheesy. Whereas I don't think Go the Distance is.
I listened to a couple of versions of Shooting Star, and I think the Boyzone one is particularly cheesy.
Yeah.
I heard someone else do it, and I thought, okay, I could see what Alan Menken was going for here. Something I noticed, again, last night, listening to it, having done the research, and having learned about Shooting Star and listened to it, you can still hear bits of Shooting Star in the score. There were these little phrases that I'd never picked up on before, but because I'd gone away and listened to them, I was like, oh, I can hear Shooting Star in this moment.
Yeah.
So I thought that was fun. It still has its presence in the film.
And it's another song that does kind of emphasise the neurodiversity from my perspective. It talks about a person who doesn't quite fit in and they're on their own and having to figure it out. So, yeah. But yes, I think they could only have one of those types of song and they went for the right one. I think would go the distance.
They still use Shooting Star on the cruise version.
Oh, do they?
Of the musical.
Nice.
Yeah, because it wasn't in the West End version, but they do it on the cruise. I was trying to listen quite carefully to the score because I thought you would probably focus on the songs.
Yes.
Yes, I picked out Shooting Star, which was fun. And also it seems a very obvious thing, but I think it's used to very good effect that there's a really good trumpet fanfare for any time that they're alluding to Mount Olympus. And it's very appropriate, it's really good.
It's very evocative, isn't it?
Yes.
Speaking of Mount Olympus, one of my notes here is thinking about the links between this and Snow White. I really thought that the way they presented, like, Mount Olympus right at the beginning is really like the castle at the beginning of Snow White. Or, like, when it's more glowy in Snow White, like when they're not going to heaven, or maybe they are going to heaven, I don't know.
Well, I thought you were going to say, again, it's funny that we're talking about heaven which doesn't commonly come into Disney films.
No,
but here we are with the Golden Gates up in the clouds. It looks very heavenly again.
Should we talk about
Let's talk
West
about
End production?
the West End musical.
So we went to see it in October. So I think a couple of months after it opened.
Yeah, it opened sometime in the summer, didn't it? We were relatively early.
Yes. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too.
It was fun. And it didn't take itself too seriously, which Hercules shouldn't. And it was appropriately camp. But it was not the film.
No.
My view is all the versions of the songs that are in the film were not as good.
Yes.
But that might just be natural bias because I do love the songs and specifically the people that sing them. And listening to the soundtrack of the musical as preparation for the podcast, it didn't fill me with joy. It was a bit of a chore.
I was listening to it and then I gave up and just read the lyrics.
Oh, really? I listened to the whole
That
thing. That's interesting. The Muses were, again, like the best thing.
They were the
about
standout,
production.
definitely.
Their outfits were so good.
They were.
They looked so good, all of them. And Hercules didn't make me feel as much as the animated version did. Like I say, Go the Distance felt a lot flatter, felt like they were rushing it. And I'm sorry, Luke Brady, I'm sorry, hun, but he just didn't do it for me. I didn't think he was a very relatable Hercules, and Hercules, if it needs to be relatable. If he's
Yeah,
anything.
I don't think it's his fault. I think it's the material.
Yeah,
he
the
was
material.
given.
That's very fair. We'll blame the material. It's fine. Why did they make Pain and Panic into real people?
Yeah, it's called like Bob and Charles or something. They didn't even call them Pain and Panic anymore.
So Pain and Panic, in my view, was like perhaps some of the best sidekicks from the Renaissance era.
Oh, okay. I have a different view.
Oh, okay. And it seemed perhaps they couldn't work out how to present them on the stage. But the thing is the Lion King, the musical, is right round the corner.
Yeah.
Like, it's right near them in Covent Garden. And I'm like, why couldn't they learn anything from them about how to present animals or non-humans?
Yeah.
But anyway. So you're not a Pain and Panic fan?
No.
Are you not? Oh, I love them!
Oh no, I don't like them.
I
They're
didn't
the
know
worst
this.
part of the film for me.
Really?
Them and Phil.
So, yeah, we'll talk about Phil when we talk about women, maybe. I
Yeah.
love Pain. I think they're really funny.
Oh.
Like all of the if is good. I think that's really funny.
I think I liked that as a child.
Yeah.
I've matured.
I never grew up.
I've grown up.
Yeah, that's about right.
I just don't find them funny anymore.
Do you not? Oh, I do. Like the squidgy shoes and the we are worms, worthless worms. I think that's really funny.
No,
Okay,
it's
fair
not
enough.
for me.
Fair enough.
And I think that particularly struck me when I first rewatched it when we did our big Disney
Yes.
watch
rewatch.
through.
Yeah.
I rated Hercules slightly lower than I have done more recently because the humour just really wasn't hitting me that time. I was thinking, oh no, I remember this being funny and it's just not funny to me anymore. And now some of it is funny to me, but not Pain and Panic.
But anyway, well, we'll just have to agree to disagree, which is fine.
Yeah,
we can
that's
do
fine.
that on this podcast. Yeah, I did not like the human versions. Once they're human, I felt the way that you do. I was just like, this isn't funny.
Yeah.
They're just two stupid people. Like, there's nothing about it that I like.
They got rid of Pegasus. No Pegasus in the West End version.
I should say, for the record, that I have with me my baby Pegasus soft toy. I got him at Disneyland Paris during my hen party because I love baby Pegasus. He's so cute.
He's adorable.
I would do anything to have a baby Pegasus that never grows up. So yeah, sorry, getting back to the musical. I liked the fact that they made Phil less creepy.
Yes.
Like, we'll get to Phil in the film when we talk about women, but he's less creepy, which I think is nice.
He just becomes very bland.
Yeah.
Again, he's just a dude. He's
Yeah.
not a satyr
Yeah,
anymore.
that's very true.
Which
Yeah.
is more accurate
Yeah.
to the myth,
Yeah.
but...
And the staging, to me, felt quite cheap. And what you've said about the fact that the film mixes up the classical worlds in terms of Roman and Greek makes sense to me because it feels very Vegas coded. And Vegas is supposed to be very Roman theme, like with Caesar's palace and everything. And so I think it now makes sense. Like, it's a continuation of that confusion about where it's actually drawing its influence from. I still thought it looked a little bit cheap. But that makes more sense now that they did that based on what you were just saying there about them mixing those two worlds up.
I think I had my expectations managed on that because before we went to see it, one of the things I'd heard was that it looks really cheap. And so I went in expecting it to be worse than it was.
Oh, okay.
And some of it I actually thought was quite pretty.
Oh, okay,
So-
fair enough. Fair enough.
I thought the go the distance sequence when he's sort of running through the landscape, I thought they did a good job on that. I thought the backdrops behind him that were
I don't really
moving
remember that.
were really beautiful.
Okay.
They had some nice colours.
So I was surprised that Alan Menken worked on it.
It's not his usual standard.
No, but I've literally written that. I don't feel this version is up to his usual standard. For example, Despina's Lullaby is decidedly meh. I don't know if you even got that far.
I did actually, and I thought,
Today's
who's
gonna-
Despina?
Yeah, I know. I thought that Today's Gonna Be My Day. That was so cheesy, but not in the right way. I like that Meg got another song, and it's one Forget About It, which I think is one of the better editions. Oh, do you not like it?
I don't like that song.
Fair enough. I don't think it's good. It's not as good as Won't Sam in Love, but in terms of the better editions. I like that Hades gets a song, but they're not very good.
Oh, again, Hades is just a dude.
Yeah, everyone is just a dude.
Just a dude.
I think that's a really good way of describing it. Everyone is just a dude.
Except the muses, who are icons.
Yeah, it's the
Everyone else is just a dude.
They should just sing. I'd come to just see the muses. the song Getting Even, I don't know if you got that far, it reminded me of the evil guy song in Wish. This is the thanks comparison. I get. Not a compliment. No. Not a compliment. This is the thanks I get. So I didn't know that this version had an off-Broadway tryout all the way back in 2019, where Roger Bart, who is Hercules in the film, came back to be Hades. He came back to be Hades, yes.
Oh, weird.
It then went to Hamburg before finally arriving at the West End, and it will be closing in September of this year, which I'm not very surprised about. If you want to go see it, do. I don't think we've exactly been an advertisement for it. It's interesting what you said about there being a cruise version, because I was thinking, as I was re-listening to the soundtrack, of like a condensed version of this, for me, would sit very well as like a park performance. Like Beauty and the Beast, something like that, I think would be really good.
And I think the cruise version really does have that sort of vibe.
I think that could be good.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, everything I've seen of the cruise version looks good.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It just looks well staged. The costumes look great.
Maybe we'll get to see it. Who knows?
Yeah. Given that this musical opened in 2025, I feel that it could have updated some things that it didn't update.
Yes.
So in particular, and maybe this will lead us into our next conversation, I felt that they had kept Meg a very 90s love interest.
Yeah.
And I felt they could have maybe updated her character a little bit.
Yeah.
But yes, perhaps that's more relevant to what we're...
Well, I think we're pretty much ready to start talking about the women in Hercules and how we feel about them.
Just to open out this section like we did with Snow White, with the concept of the Bechdel test.
Yes.
So to remind people, in order to pass the Bechdel test, you have to have two named female characters talking to each other about something other than a man. And again, I have queries over whether this passes the Bechdel test. I don't think it does.
So I've written a note on this. You tell me what you think. I've said that if the name of the Fates is their name, then I think we can say the film passes the Bechdel test, because they're like cutting the thing and they're talking about the scissors and everything. So they're not talking about a man.
Do we ever get their names?
Well, this is the thing. I'm like, if we can say that their collective name is the Fates.
Oh, I don't think that counts.
You don't think that counts?
The original
I don't think
Fates
it does.
Did have individual names.
So if they have, I would say no, this film doesn't pass the Bechdel test.
Well, similarly, the Muses have their own names, but do we hear those names?
It just says we are the Muses.
Yeah.
Goddesses of the arts.
And they sort of sing to Meg, but it's about Hercules.
Yeah.
So I don't think.
No, I agree. I do not think.
Even though we do have quite a lot of female characters, they're focused on Hercules.
Yes. Yeah. So no, my view is this film does not pass the Bechdel test.
Yeah. So Meg, I think, is really interesting because I really like Meg.
Yeah, so do I. I really like Meg.
I think she's a great character. I love Susan Egan's portrayal of her. I think she has a great voice. And apparently she really influenced how the character of Meg came out. So Susan Egan was Belle in the Broadway production of Beauty and the Beast. But she always said that she felt like Meg was much closer to her actual character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she has some great lines. I love, I'm a damsel, I'm in distress, I can handle this. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
There's another bit where she's talking about men and she says they think no means yes and get lost means take me.
Yeah, I've got that, yes. Which I also think is really sad as well.
It is. And still very appropriate to today.
That's why I wrote it down. I was like, so many women would describe this having the same experiences. So, yeah. I love Meg. I like the fact that she's a really interesting and mature mix of both being a powerful woman in her own right. She is very self-assured, but she's also controlled, which I think adds a really interesting spin. I also like the fact that she doesn't simply fall for Hercules, the way that Snow White just looks at the prince and goes, "Ow!" She describes herself as a big tough girl. She is more experienced with life than Hercules is.
Yes, oh, definitely.
And that's a strength. Her experience.
And very intentional.
Yes. Yeah. But she is also controlled by Hades, and I wrote that exact same quote.
But I think there are some very 90s aspects to her.
I mean, her waist.
Yeah, so let's talk about her design. So she is designed according to Greek shapes. Her torso is like a column, and her hips are supposed to be like a pot. And I read an interview with the animator where he laughed that her hips are supposed to be like a pot with little love handles. And that gave me the ick. I think, so she has that great line about being a damsel in distress but then being able to handle it, and yet at the end she does just end up being a damsel in distress who has to be saved by Hercules.
That is very true.
I also thought...
But she also saves him by, she
pushes him out the way of the column, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But she has that minor moment and he
things.
Has this whole
that is true. That is true. Yeah.
And then you've got the classic visual of him carrying her in his arms out of the pool of dead people, and it's just a bit of a trope, big strong man carrying pathetic, fainted little girl.
Yeah.
And this is sort of, it's only a minor moment, but it did make me think, I think we would think better of that now, when all of those fangirls fall on Hercules and then they get chased out, and as Meg refers to them as being a sea of raging hormones. So again, not being a girl's girl, really.
No.
And they're presenting her as kind of, in inverted commas, not like other girls.
Yeah.
She's the sassy one. She's strong. She's independent. She's different.
There's some pick-me energy there.
So I thought that's probably not quite how you would do things now. And when it comes to the musical, I thought... So they didn't update any of those things. And in some ways I thought they did her even worse. In that song, Forget About It, that you've got... So she's singing about how she doesn't need to be saved, isn't she? And then Hercules will start singing about how he just loves her. He just loves her.
Yeah.
And you've got her... They very much present her as ranting at him. And she'll be like, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Oh, but another thing. Yeah. And I thought, oh no, this is such a stereotypical presentation of women as not shutting up. And it's like,
and
oh, I don't like it.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I hadn't thought of that.
All of that said, I really like Meg.
Yeah. I think her as a character, generally speaking, potentially the context that she's put in are not great. But yeah, I think she's a great role model for women, generally speaking, I think compared to other Disney girls who don't have as much inner strength, potentially, the way that they're presented, potentially. And we see this in the 90s, more of this. I think she's quite comparable to, say, Esmeralda.
Yes, I was thinking about Esmeralda.
Similar presentations of women, which I like. And I think what's the important thing in my view about these films is not taking potentially individual films and picking the women apart isn't necessarily the most useful thing to do. Not that we're saying we're doing that, but looking at all of them and saying, does this represent womanhood? The many different ways that one can experience one's identity as a woman, which is more than one thing. It's many, many things.
Yes.
And I think she's a really important facet to that.
Yes, and they give her a complicated backstory.
Yeah.
There is a lot to her character.
She's not a simple person. She's not a completely good person. Which is useful, I think.
Yeah.
Can we speak about some other women and aspects of women in the film? So yeah, again, just the muses. Again, I think I really like them because they probably show the best body diversity throughout the film between the muses, which I think is really important.
I think there is some comedy made out of the fact that one of them is quite short and round.
True. I suppose, I like the fact that there is one who is shorter and perhaps on larger, just as a concept, and just this is another way of being. But yeah, we shouldn't be making comedy out of that. I agree with that. Are there stone heads and homage to the Haunted Mansion? That's what I want to know.
Oh, I think I read somewhere that they were.
I like that.
Yes,
I think that's very fun. I think that's very fun.
There's another reference to a Disney park thing, which I only picked up on for the first time last night, which is when Hades says, "It's a small underworld after all."
Oh!
And I was like,
Mind blown!
Reference.
I love it. That's amazing.
So sorry, not depiction of women, just relevant to the parks.
Yeah. No. So yeah, the women often having this vase figure situation thing going on. I like how it does fit the ancient Greek setting, but it's very 90s.
Yes.
And it's setting unachievable.
Yes. There's some equality of that between the sexes, I think, because Meg's figure is unattainable. Hercules' figure is unattainable
that is
as
true.
well.
That is true. That isn't just put on women. And yet, like we said before, between Meg and Hercules, you have the 90s epitome of what an ideal body looks like, and it's a little bit problematic. I love the Fates. I think they're hilarious with their one eye. And the we now.
I found them funnier than Pain and Panic. Definitely.
Okay, I think they're very funny. I like how they share an eye. For some reason, I think that's very funny.
I hate the bit when he picks up the eye from the floor and then takes a hair off it. And
yeah. Whilst we're talking about women, I think we should talk about the sexy female Pegasus.
Oh, I try not to think about the sexy female Pegasus.
Very creepy, and I don't like how the way that they deal with Pegasus is to send in a sexy woman or not send in.
Yes,
the seduction thing is a little bit weird.
That particular bit is just too cartoony, isn't it? Even with like the sound effects, it's kind of like wow, 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 wow.
I just feel like if you'll know way better than me now that the myths, in the Greek myths, there's so much they could have pulled on to be a distraction for Pegasus or whatever, and they decided to. It felt like quite a cheap laugh.
Yes.
And then Phil.
Oh,
so Phil is very creepy with a lot of the female characters like nymphs and Meg and the fangirls. But I think it's very obvious the film is presenting him as creepy. Like, they're not saying that this is okay. He is creepy, and he pays for it. He gets slapped a lot. He is sort of disregarded for his creepiness. So I don't like the creepiness, but the film kind of does have some sort of inner justice for it.
Yes. He does end up with Aphrodite in the end.
Oh, is it? Really? Oh, I can't remember. Don't remember that.
Aphrodite kind of gives him a smooch, and he is a bit surprised by it. So I suppose there's self-awareness there.
And she kisses him, right? And he hasn't been chasing her down.
Again, I don't think they thought through this in great depth. No. But yes, I find him a very off-putting character in many ways.
Yeah, he is very off-putting. Final, general thoughts before we summarise.
Yeah, great, go for it.
This is a really specific nitpick, but
it's okay. I've done plenty of those.
I continue to be really annoyed that Disney Plus is removing the contemporaneous opening castle and putting in the current ident.
Agree.
I like the 90s Blue Castle opening. Why can't they keep it that way? I associate that Blue Castle with Hercules more than any other film. I don't know why. I really liked the use of the colour palettes in this film. The yellows, the oranges, the golds, the use of the sun to create the aesthetic of the film. I think like the bit where right at the end of Go the Distance, or at some point where he's you're just seeing his back to the screen and he's sort of putting his arms up. I really like that bit.
That is lovely. I might call it a sky palette.
Yes.
Because a lot of the colours that they use kind of make me think of the sky. I think of the main two colours as blue and gold. Yeah. Just like a blue sky and the sun.
Yeah.
It's beautiful colours.
Yeah.
I love the look of the thing.
Yeah,
because apparently this was quite criticised at the time.
I like the look.
I love it.
I think the cartoonishness works. It all fits together,
and I think it's very stylish cartoonishness.
Yeah. And I'm very excited to say that linking in with your present, we've had the first Disney cat of the podcast.
Snowball!
Snowball!
I loved Snowball.
Snowball,
who is black.
Yeah.
Because he's been... Oh yes, because all they saved from the house fire was Snowball.
Yeah.
He presents Snowball, and Snowball is now very
Black.
smoky.
Yeah. So, he is the first cat of the podcast, which is very exciting because we are going to be
Snowball.
chasing cats around.
We are.
So those are all of my final thoughts before we summarise. So, Megan, do you have any closing thoughts about Hercules that you would like to share?
To briefly summarise, I have given this film 4 stars. Certainly the last couple of times I've watched it, I've given it 4 stars. That previous time I mentioned, I gave it 3.5 because the humour really wasn't hitting me that time. But this time I just really enjoyed it. I feel very nostalgic for it. It's a good time. I love the look of it. My favourite character is probably Meg. Really enjoy Meg. And Hades. Hades is funny. Yes, it sparked off an interest in Greek myths as a child, and I thoroughly enjoyed revisiting them for this podcast episode. And I enjoy the music very much. What are your final thoughts about Hercules, Bronwen? I know it's probably more meaningful to you than me.
So, I'm trying to figure out what I've given this film. So this film is at number 3.
Oh, it's high!
Out of 64 films. So
Wow.
It's very, very high. It gets 4.5 stars from me. I love this film. This is one of those films that I saw as a child but didn't really appreciate for what it was. But as I got older and started to feel weirder and less normal and less fitting in, and had experiences not as bad as being called Hercules, but I've had people make fun of my name an awful lot. This film grew on me because I really related to the experiences that Hercules was having. And I think the message of this film for me, as I kind of mentioned, is like really simple, that all of us, no matter how different we are or how weird we are, we can all find somewhere where we belong, and often that place isn't a physical place, but it's with particular people. And
that is a really nice message.
And not to give up, to go the distance.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a little emotional, like perhaps it's a little bit too emotional, and perhaps I'm reading too much into it for myself, but I really enjoy that message. I think it's really important. And it was a really important part of my emotional development in the way that Disney films can be. And different films mean different things to different people. So, this film will always be really high for me in my rating, because I feel very a kinship with it. And I also just love the screwball energy of it. And Pegasus. And it's at number 3.
Wow.
And we've come a long way from Snow White. So Snow White is at number 43. So we've gone up 40 places. What about you? Where is it in your official ranking?
17.
17, okay.
Yeah. But yes, I've also jumped up from Snow White. Not nearly as far as you, because for me Snow White was at 32 and now we've jumped up to 17.
But we agree it's difficult to call it an improvement, but I think this film, for me, it just is emotionally closer to me. I can draw it closer than I can Snow White. Snow White is not a bad film, to be clear.
No. And actually, thinking about it, I think... it's interesting. I think this one has a real nostalgia value for me, because I think rewatching Snow White made me feel more things this time. And I think it was particularly the quality of the score. It's really beautiful music in Snow White.
Yes, and it was this, just to actually link back for a second, was less scored, wasn't it, in terms of the proportion of the film?
Yes, and I had to listen really hard to the score. I made a deliberate attempt to do that, whereas it's not nearly as obvious in the texture as the Snow White score is.
I think the songs are more accessible for a modern audience in Hercules. That doesn't necessarily mean they're better, but the score, I would say, is better in Snow White.
Yes.
I think the overall score, is it time to do our choosing of our next film?
Yes! I always get so excited about this bit. It's so thrilling. Are you ready, Bronwyn?
I'm ready. Okay.
She's going in. Picking a name from Mickey's Sorcerer's Hat.
So this is the one.
Where are we going, Mickey?
Okay, where are we going? Okay. The Great Mouse Detective.
Oh, I like that one.
Okay, all right.
That's quite interesting.
That's, for most people, that's a deep cut. Radigan.
Um,
Oh, Radigan. I'm going to do my whole psychology bit on that bat.
I used to find that bat quite scary. Actually,
Yeah.
quite a lot about this
It's
film I found
creepy.
quite scary.
I mean, you're going to have to tell us about the Sherlock Holmes of it all, aren't
yeah,
you?
I'm just going to have to go away and read all the Sherlock Holmes
every
books.
single Sherlock
Fine,
Holmes
yes.
book. Yeah, yeah.
Victorian London.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to talk about.
There's quite an emotional bit at the beginning. I'm trying to remember what happens, but it's quite scary for the little girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Her father... Oh yes, her father kind of gets attacked and kidnapped, doesn't
That's
he?
an ace.
So I feel
That's
like
an ace.
there's definitely some trauma there.
There's some trauma siren. Oh, how interesting.
And fun, yeah, we owned it,
Yes.
didn't we?
Yeah.
I don't feel like it was one we watched all the time. I definitely
No.
think Hercules got more viewings.
Yeah.
Because I'm now kind of scraping my memory for it. Don't think it has as much sticking power
No.
as some of the others.
But I ranked this one quite highly, I think. Let's have a look at where I've ranked it.
I seem to remember saying something in my review about just really liking British animals.
It's
Big
actually,
fan.
it's not as high as... Where is it? 30. Is it number 30?
For me, it's 19.
Wow!
So just a couple of
okay.
steps down from Hercules.
Wow, okay. I mean, this is another Ron Clements and John Musker. Well, we will have to meet again.
Yes,
To-
in Victorian London.
In Victorian London.
With some rats.
Yes. I mean, the
And
fact
some
that
mice.
we are geese will fit better in this film because they're all animals. in
And
this
they're, and
film.
they're British, so
And they're
we'll
British.
feel very at home.
Yes.
Finally.
Finally.
Well, this has been lots of fun.
Yes.
I really enjoyed talking about Hercules.
I enjoy talking to you about Hercules. And we look forward to seeing you all on our next episode of our next stop on our walking tour. But until then, it's so weird. This is not an official Disney podcast, and the views expressed are our own. Thanks for joining us on another stop on our walking tour through the Disney landscape. We look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, you can follow us at Gavel Sisters on Instagram. Be sure to subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to your podcast, and please recommend us to all your Disney pals. Toodly pip! What are they called again?
Alcmene
Alcmene.
and Amphitryon.
I'm not going to remember that. Amphitryon.
Amphitryon.
Amphitryon and Alfini.
Alcmene.
Alchemy and Amphitryon.
Yes. That might be the blooper at the end. Just us constantly going, Alcmene.
Alchemy.
Amphitryon.
Amphitryon. Okay.